What's up, everyone? Welcome to YouTube and welcome back to the show. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our sponsor for today's episode.
Most sports have designated coaches for the most important movements. Basketball players have shooting coaches, baseball players have batting coaches, and golfers have swing coaches.
Now, for the first time, we have a specific coach for one of the most important movements in volleyball.
If you use code ARMSWING50 at checkout, you'll instantly get 50% off your first month of the Armswing Academy.
Once you're inside the app, you can upload a video of your arm swing. Then you'll get personalized feedback direct from Nick Del Bianco. He'll give you some tips on how your arm swing is looking. Then you get some on-court exercises to lock in the new patterns and even a specific weight room program to help you spike harder and play pain-free.
If you're not sold yet and you just want to test it out, all you got to do is follow the link in the description of this episode or our Instagram bio and sign up for the 7-day free trial. Then use code ARMSWING50 at checkout and get 50% off the first month after the trial.
Alrighty. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pit to Pro podcast. Today we are joined by Brodie Hofer. Welcome to the show, Brodie.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Dude, it's so good to see you. It's been a long time, so I'm really glad you're here. This is really fun. I want to talk about highballs. Your nickname in university was Highball Hof, and that's something you've always excelled at throughout your career. Poland, Italy, university, club, even, you were always a good highball spiker. And I was at BC Provincials with TS yesterday watching the U17s, and it's evident that that's not a skill that very many young athletes are really good at. Can you kind of walk us through, A, why that's so important, and B, your thought process and how you would help the younger generation with the highball attack?
Yep. I think why it's so important is the men's game is, we all know like serves are crazy, and sometimes the best thing that comes from a difficult serve is a pass off the net. And so we all have to be ready to set high balls, and we also all need to be ready to spike high balls too. I think like going to your question about the 17U struggling, one thing like when I'm coaching younger kids that I'm always trying to get them to understand is the importance of being late versus early. When you're early, you slow down on your last two steps and you're usually hitting it on your way down, so you're not as high. You're not hitting it as well. And so what I always try to think about arriving late to the ball. And if you're late, you can always speed up. And when you're late to the ball, you're speeding up. It actually makes you hit harder as well, and you can get on the ball faster too. I think that's something that I learned this year was the difference between hitting the ball hard versus hitting the ball fast. It's just a little mental like adjustment that I made where instead of trying to like grit my teeth and pound the ball, I'm trying to almost beat the blockers to space. And so it can happen in high ball and it can also work in system. And so just that alone, I think is the biggest change that someone can make to their high ball spiking. And then it comes down to shot selection and all those different steps.
That's really cool. And like for shot selection, what's going through your mind? Like we had Eric on 10 episodes ago or something, and he was talking about his shot selection in system. He's like, I'll go line. If I go line a couple times and I go sharp cross, I know that like line tip is going to be open, over the shoulder. Mm-hmm. Is there a similar thought process in highball?
I think there can be. I don't know if I think that deeply about it. The first thing that I go to is what's like my best shot here. And I'll usually maybe start the game like that. And something I learned from Nick Delbs was just I like recognizing where the defense is playing against you. Like if they make a really easy dig against a good shot of yours, then that's when you can make your adjustments. So I'll keep hitting my shot. Like let's say it's deep corner over the block or high seam. If I see like the 6 defender or even the 5 defender moves, then I can make my adjustment from there. Like if the 6 defender is moving to the corner, then that kind of leaves a line, like a line seam spike. If it's the libero and I have a triple block, then that means 4 and 5 is quite open. So I think getting to that point of recognizing what the defense is doing against you, then you can start to make those adjustments.
I think one big thing with highball especially is like your hand contact becomes incredibly important.
Yeah.
And you got a great hand, especially in highball. is there anything that like you think about when you're struggling with that, or a way that kids can help develop that? Because even like for myself, when I got on like the A team for the first time, I was like, my hand contact sucks compared to the best players in the world. Anything you learn there?
The first thing that I thought of was back in club, I was playing with one of my teammates, and he just said try to put your middle finger like on the top of the ball or right in the middle. So that's like a hand, like a technical change or something that you can do there. But also trying to hit the ball fast versus hard, I think helps your hand contact a lot. Because when you are swinging hard, you're getting really tight and you're gonna bring the ball down, or your arm will actually move slower. And so you'll hit the wrist, you'll hit the fingers. But if you're swinging fast, like I've heard you guys talk a lot about accelerating, I think that is the most consistent hand contact.
I think those external cues is huge. Like when it's like something as simple as middle finger, as not volleyball specific at all. And Benjo was huge on that. I remember so many of that Benjo used to tell us. Is there any that you've either learned or developed? Doesn't have to be spiking. Over your last 2 years overseas that have kind of been game changers, whether it's dating, passing, serving, like some kind of external kind of fun thing that you can share.
Yeah, the first one that I think of is Dan Lewis's reception. He loves the board, imagining that your platform is a board. And he'll even bring out one of those balance boards at practice. I'm sure you guys have seen this. And he'll just, like, for 20 minutes, talk to you about the angles and everything and how it works. But I relied on that a lot with all of my reception this year, and just imagining, okay, my arms are a board. Okay, first thing, are my arms actually resembling a board, or is it like, are they, do I have a bad sweet spot? So get to there, and then instead of thinking about trying to get the ball to the target, imagine just creating the right angle like you would with a 2x4 or something like that.
What about what about serving when you're on the baseline? What is running through your mind when you're serving? Because you made the Olympic roster last summer by being a deadly serving sub all through VNL. Came out coming off the bench, cranking serves. What's going through your mind when you get subbed in there? Uh, yeah.
Thank you. I think I think I make a small mental adjustment when I'm serving in a match as a starter versus as a serving sub. I think sometimes if let's say I'm on the court, I love thinking about pitchers in baseball. There's this guy on YouTube, Trevor Bauer, who really controversial face of the game, but is clearly like a master of his craft. And he talks about tunneling and sequencing pitches. And so when I'm playing, I am thinking about sequencing my serves as well. So let's say I hit it to the three seam or between 5 and 6. For the listeners that don't know, I'll hit it to that three seam a couple of times, and then let's say I get two good serves, maybe one knockout, one ace, or maybe they pass me well. Now I know that the 6 and 5 passers are ready for that. So I'll maybe now look at going to the sideline on that one because I think the 5 receiver will make a move inside. Or I'll just, yeah, I'll go completely away. Now with serving sub, I'm just thinking, I think, should I just walk you guys through like what it's like being on the bench and then getting subbed in? Because I think, yeah, that'd be the best way for me to explain it. So, at the start of the game, it was really fun this year because we had a sick bench on the national team. Guys like Brett and Nick were always kind of checking in with me. Nick, Canada's been one of Canada's best servers for like 3 quads. And then Brett is just like a mindful volleyball player, like to the max. And so right at the beginning of the match, we'll figure out what rotations I'm going to be serving in. So if I know that I'm going to get the guys in 5, I'm going to have, what is it, 2 receivers. I'm going to have the libero in 1. Is that row 5?
The Olympian serving sub.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
5.
Well, let's just do row 6. Row 6, I know the libero's in the middle. Yeah. Sorry, guys. We do know what we're talking about. So in row six, I know that I've got setter, uh, middle, and the opposite all stacked on the left side. I've got the libero in six. So really, the only like the worst serve you could do is hit it out, and then the next one would be to serve the libero. So in pregame, we'll talk about who the serving targets are, and let's say it's the front row left side. Though that's our serving target for the game. From the start of the game, I'm thinking about the rotation where I most likely know I'm going to go in. So let's say I went in for Danny a lot that summer, Demyanenko. I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to watch Danny serves in row six. I'm going to picture what serve I want to hit. And that gives me, I think, a great mental edge going into my serve sub because I'm not like getting subbed in, walking back there and looking and seeing who's there. I already know by the start of the game who I'm going to be serving for and where my serve is going. And then it's just about going through like your process of hitting a consistent serve. And yeah, I think yeah, I knew that being a excellent server was going to get me to the Olympics. Like the fourth, I was like the fourth or fifth outside, and I think Riley Barnes would have made it over me as just a volleyball player. But if I was an impactful serving sub, I knew that was my ticket to Paris. So with all those steps and then getting a bit lucky, you that's how I got there.
I think that process, that level of preparation, that's the stuff that's just completely lost on people who are watching the game and probably younger athletes, even U Sports athletes. Like that level of focus from the very beginning of the game to go in and do your job for 1 point a set, or if you want to run, maybe a couple. But I think that's the difference at the U Sports level to the pro level. Is like that's the level of focus and preparation that's required to be able to execute in that moment. And I think that's really cool. And maybe people can learn a thing or two from that.
Yeah, definitely. And now let's talk about the Olympics because that's an even bigger level of preparation and dedication. So first off, congratulations. I know I've told you that before, but I want the listeners to know we're very proud of them. Very proud of them. Um, yeah, can you walk us through kind of like when you realized, obviously you've had this dream for a while, but when you realized it was an attainable dream if you did the right things and kind of the process to get there and then what it felt like when you were selected to that roster and then the feeling you had in that first game and the feeling when you came home after the Olympics. So I know you had your lock screen on your phone for a long time was the Olympic rings and stuff. And now you got that sick tattoo. Show the people your tattoo. Bang! Yeah, walk us through that because that's just an incredible thing that 0.005% of the world gets to experience.
Thank you guys. You've been great friends and you've always, yeah, we all celebrate each other a lot. And I think I love that. But yeah, I think it goes back to the COVID year. Jackson Howe, we started just saying Paris 2024 and we dab each other up before every practice because that COVID year was just, I mean, anyone who was training during that knows how tough it was to just train and not get to play. And also your training, like we weren't allowed to play 6-on-6. So there was just a lot of barriers to show up and have a good day. And so me and Jackson were like, well, let's get ourselves to the Olympics. Like each day, let's try to make a step there. And so that's when I put the lock screen on there. And from like after Tokyo, I knew that just based on where athletes were in their careers with national team players, I knew that it was going to be a bit of a long shot, but attainable if I was able to prepare. And yeah, I just knew that I needed to play some national team and I needed to like continue to get better each day from just the big picture getting to the Olympics. But the memory that I think about a lot and that I'm proud of myself for, and like I think was one of the big steps was when I got cut from the national team after VNL. This was Thomas's first summer. Tias, you were part of that summer, and so was Sam Cooper. I know you got injured, but I got cut before that to the B team. And so after your injury, I got called into like the practice squad. And then but Sam Cooper was the fourth that summer. And so him and I were getting splitting time on the court and battling back and forth. But in the end, when they went to Charleston for Norseca, I think it was, they I got cut from that, and I was done for the rest of the summer. And that was the Olympic qualification summer. So I finished out my training, and I just went to my pro team early. And I was out walking around in Warsaw with the opposite on my pro team, and I get a text from Thomas, and he's like, "Hey, Brodie, you might need to come to Japan to train before the Olympic qualifiers. I'll call you in 10 minutes." And I'm just like literally like on like kind of a mini vacation. Like I'm exploring a new city in a new country, and I'm totally mentally checked out of the national team. Like I'm paying attention to what they're doing, but I'm expecting that my summer is done with the national team. And so I'm now like, holy crap, like I'm calling my girlfriend, I'm calling my dad. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I can say no, but also like this is my dream. And if I take this, if I go, then I could have a chance to go to the Olympics. So ultimately I talked to Thomas. I think Nick was battling an injury or something, so they wanted someone for training. And all he promised me was that I was going to be there to basically serve in practice. So I was like, great, like I can do that. Yeah. So I got on a flight, I think the next day or 2 days after, to go to Japan and meet the team for training. And it was maybe like a week or a 10-day training camp there because the qualifiers were in China. So similar time zone. Um, and I got there, and I was just, yeah, like Thomas said, I was training. Nick was healthy. Everyone was healthy enough. So I was just a serving guy in practice. If, Steve or Eric or Nick wanted extra reps, I was like, yep, I can serve at you guys or whatever. And then we were scrimmaging Japan in like a friendly, no uniforms. And I was totally like checked out. I was like, Thomas told me I won't play, so I'm at the ball cart tossing balls to guys. I have a towel around my neck. I'm like ready to go in, sort of like Thomas says, like be ready. Like he's like everyone be ready to go. So I'm like still moving a little bit, but I'm like there's no way I'm playing. And it's the let's say like yeah, it's the B guys who are scrimmaging against Japan's B guys, and this is Sam who had a couple hitting errors in a row and like one other mistake. And Thomas looks at me, he's like, Brodie, go. So I just whip the towel off my neck, toss the ball to another guy, and I just go in. And this is like one of the moments where I think I just like luck was on my side that day. And I just got like a few kills. I passed a couple good balls, made a couple good serves, and yeah, I just had a good day. And everyone after was like, Brodie, like, wow, like good job. And to me, I was like, man, like I was ice cold pretty much. And I don't think I hit my hand, but I just got a little bit lucky, you know? And then the next day or 2 days after, we were doing like a scrimmage against Japan in front of fans. So we were in one of their big arenas, 10,000 people. So it was more fun, and I didn't get to go in at all. And I was just a little bit down. I was like, man, I wanted to play, but you know what? Like my job here is to be a good teammate and to just make the most of each opportunity I have. And I got a text from Thomas when we got back to our residence, and he's like, Brodie, I want you to come to my room. And he told me there, he's like, Brodie, I saw your face after we lost against Japan, and then with how you played there, like you're going to the Olympic qualifiers. Before he had announced the roster, I was like so stunned. I was not expecting this at all, and he's like, don't tell anyone. So I didn't tell anyone. I was like, after all the like trials that I've been through to get to this moment, I'm not screwing this up by running my mouth. So I went to go hang out with Schnitz afterwards, and I was like buzzing, but I didn't say anything. And then, yeah, from then on, we went to Olympic qualifiers, and I was a part of the team again, just as a serving sub. I think I had a couple aces or one ace and some knockouts, and yeah, and then just carries on through that pro season and then into that Olympic summer. So that was a long-winded answer, sorry, boys, but that's the process.
That was a ton of great stuff. I love just like the humility too. Like there's a couple things in there you said, like my job is to be a great teammate. Thomas says be ready, so I'm ready. And then sometimes you do get lucky, and that's okay. I remember like early on in my career, I'd have lucky days, and I would kind of discount that, like, oh, that wasn't me, that was luck. But that is you. That's what you train for. And when the body takes over and your mind's not thinking, and great things happen.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Got something to say?
Sure. I mean, talk about adversity. Like that's pretty awesome. Again, something that no one from the outside would see. You know, so much goes on behind the scenes. How much like strain you had to go through to get yourself there. I think that's like so cool. I've heard that story before, but that was awesome. I loved hearing that again. Um, what about post Olympics? Because like, you know, we've had a lot of Olympians on here. We asked most of this about like post Olympic depression and stuff and like what it's like coming down from that high. You work your entire life to get there and then it's just done. Probably you want to go to the next one as well. But how does it feel? Do you feel different? Um, where you at now?
Yeah, I mean, I could even go to the like when I found out that I was going to the Olympics, it wasn't it the emotion I felt was relief. It wasn't like overwhelming excitement. When we qualified for the Olympics, that was the excitement. But when I found out I made the roster for the Olympics, it was like relief. It felt like a burden had been lifted from me. And then post Olympics, I wouldn't say I went through like a depressed stage, but it was an eye-opening stage of I you hear it all the time. People say to you that you're not what you do. Like don't define yourself by your sports and your accolades and your trophies. But it's a hard thing to understand without actually going through it. And I think that was like one of the times where I felt it like I don't feel different. I think like I did feel a little bit like the Olympics are more for the fans and the people and the unifying of the country, which I love and I think is cool. And you are playing at the highest level. But I also felt afterwards like this isn't about me. And I did feel like a little bit, I don't know what the right words are, but it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. Um, Not in a bad way, but just like an eye-opening way of, wow, that was an amazing experience being in it. You're on like the highest of highs. You're walking around and I'm seeing like Giannis Antetokounmpo like bump into me in the Olympic Village, and I'm like, okay, I am at the Olympics. This is awesome. But then afterwards, I just felt like a regular guy who's having dinner with my family and going on dates with my girlfriend, and yeah, it didn't change me. I just think it was more a mental, like an understanding of what things like this mean.
I think that's really cool because even when I was writing the Instagram bio when we announced that you were coming on the show, for a second there I forgot that you went to the Olympics because that's not the stuff that matters to me. I was like, Brodie is a competitor. He's a winner. He's one of our best friends. Like he's been through all this stuff, and that's the stuff that I remember. And obviously, that's almost similar to you. Like you're proud of the adversity you went through. You're proud of the teammate that you were. You're proud to go to the Olympics, but it's not like, oh, I'm an Olympian. It's like, no, I'm Brodie, and I had that experience, and it was awesome for me. It was awesome for our country, and I think that's a really cool way to look at it. I think that's really really special.
I can. That just reminds me of when our team lost together in 2022 national final. Our team, yes, our team in 2022 when we lost the national final. I remember like a couple of my own actions, but what I remember the most was like the the relationship that that team had at the end of it. And in a way, like you could say, like we didn't lose. Like in the grand scheme of things, like that brought us closer together. All the challenges that team went through that year. I don't know about challenges, but difficult things and relationship building we had. Like that's the stuff that I still think about going when I think about my university days is I reflect on like that time that I had with my friends and my teammates.
Yeah, I was kind of recapping the season we just had in France with Liv the other day, and I was kind of being like, I don't feel proud of the season I had. And she's like, when's the last time you felt proud? And I said that season plus the season we won because and not because we won or lost. It had nothing to do with volleyball. It's because we were this unified group that was working together. We talked about it on last episode, the the culture in the weight room. That was so special to me because we were pushing each other. We were like dancing to the music. We were all happy to be there. Like I was proud of that. It didn't even matter if we won.
Mhm.
And that's the stuff that I remember. And that's what I really, really missed this year.
A really cool thing from our last year, I was just working out in Sparta today. Our team got strength and conditioning team of the year in our final year together. And I think that is like a very cool thing to look back on. Like I was looking at the plaques and our team name is up there, men's volleyball. And I just think that's so cool. That just because to get that award means that like everyone on the team was showing up on time. Our attendance was good. We were going in there and making the most of it. And yeah, it's not just about who's the strongest team at Trinity. It's about multiple other things. And that's a great reminder, Jesse. And yeah, our team had such a sweet connection. I remember you coming in and playing Crazy Frog in the morning at 8 a.m. and we're like, turn this off, but we're all having fun.
It's cool. I was just, I don't know if I can connect this well, but I was thinking like carrying weight, carrying weight together brings teams closer. And it's like the weight of the loss in 2022, the weight of the barbell in 2023, something like that. Um, but yeah, but I talked about this study last time. It's like men bond through stress and like with the weight room stressful, losing stressful, problem solving is stressful. Like the year we won, we went through a lot of random problems. Like, yeah, just so much stuff that we all had to work through together. And I think like according to this study, that's how men bonded. It makes so much sense why we had such a close team by the end of that year.
I remember we were in Sparta when we got the text that Ben Joe had been let go from the national team, and it was us three, Schnitz and Jackson. It just happened to be us five, and we've never lifted heavier in our life. Like we were like angry lifting.
Yeah.
I remember that was one of the heaviest I've ever bench pressed in my life to this day. Was that day?
All right. Well, we've been talking about some high highs. Let's broaden the spectrum here. The last 2 seasons of playing pro, your first 2 seasons, you've been on the bottom team in the Polish league and now the Italian league, getting relegated. What have you learned from those experiences?
That's a hard answer because you could say I haven't learned anything because I lost again. Our team got relegated again. But there's still, yeah, no, there are lessons that I try to take from that. The best way is just kind of talk about the experience that I went through because no like lessons are coming into my mind immediately. But that first year with the Polish team, that team went through a lot of challenges, and reminds me of what you just talked about, Jesse and Tias, about suffering or men bond the most through suffering. I think it's a two-way street because a team can also be torn apart through it. I think you need to have the right people or you need to have the right leaders to bring that team together through it. And in that Polish year or in Radom, I don't think our team handled the struggles and the trials and tribulations very well. Our team had been losing a lot, which can be, you know, what that's like. It can be anything that's causing that. But then our coach got fired, and then there was a lot of like separation between the foreigners and the Polish guys, and there was just became like kind of this toxic training environment where no one's really having fun. Everyone is just showing up and getting the job done. I remember at Christmas because our president worked out a deal with us on if we win a certain amount of games, you get a certain amount of days off at Christmas. And we didn't win enough games, so we got the 24th. We played on the 23rd. We got the 24th off, and we had to train on Christmas Day, the 25th, which is like something that would never happen in Canada and was so foreign to me. But I could just feel such a decline from our team after that in morale because we were always tired. We weren't getting days off, and we're just showing up to training. And yeah, guys just aren't there mentally anymore. And the coach that we fired, I think, was not as good as the coach. Sorry, the coach we hired was not as good as the coach we had before, and so it didn't improve anything from a tactical standpoint, and didn't improve anything from a training environment point. So I think just the lesson for me there was you need to have the right people there to push through those struggles, and it takes a whole team, but you need to have a couple good leaders to help get that team through it.
I think that's huge. And also another thing I realized this year, because I think we had a similar experience, is just how much stuff is out of your control. And you put emphasis on something that you have no control over and you don't have the answers to solve, and honestly just makes the problem worse, or it depletes your energy. I don't know if you tried to like solve problems and it just would run around in circles or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would try to solve problems, but also I was viewed as kind of like a rookie coming in, which is fair. Um, and also I'm not Polish. And so I think like
Really?
yeah, yeah, guys, I'm Canadian. And I don't speak Polish either. Like that's another big thing is that leadership group, whatever country you're playing in, they're probably going to speak their language most of the time. And to be able to bond with guys, you got to be cracking jokes, you got to be having a good time. And in the locker room, it was mostly in Polish. So I tried like all the guys. Most of the guys spoke English, but when everyone's talking in Polish, you don't want to be that guy who's like that annoying foreigner who's like, oh, speaking English, like, oh, let me in on the joke. So I was just kind of there. Some guys would explain stuff to me, but so I felt like I couldn't have much of an impact that year.
Yeah, and that's isolating too. Like, because you want to be included, but you don't want to impose your personality. And it's the hard part about playing pro. I want to talk about your body and investing in your body and kind of the investments that you've made to help your performance and to help you with the health of your overall body.
Yeah. The best thing I ever did for my body happened during the COVID lockdown that summer when pretty much there was no national team. Everyone was just in their place, in their homes for their basically the entire summer. And I signed up for the knees over toes guy program. And I just was in my basement. We had enough weights in there where I could do everything on his program. And I just improved all my flexibility, improved my strength through that flexibility. And I needed that because the year before I couldn't squat my body weight and I was weighing 232 pounds at the end of that year. And so I couldn't squat two plates that year. But I was really heavy. And so during that summer, I lost 15 pounds and my knees, oh, also that year before, my knees were a mess. Like I could jump for like 40 times and then my knees were destroyed. So during that time, I was able to lose some weight, turn a lot of it into muscle, and my knees felt better. I was jumping better. I think the year before, this was in year two when I was struggling. I was spike touching 11.6 and a half. In the year after, just 4 months of training, we tested the beginning. I touched 11.8 and a half, so I went up by 2 inches, and then by the end of that, I touched 11.10 and a half. That's my highest all-time PB. But the point is the best investment I ever made for myself was that knees over toes program, and I just was coaching a camp a couple of weeks ago, and two young, like 16-year-old athletes asked me, "What did you wish you learned at our age?" And that was one of my answers was, I wish I knew about this knees over toes program sooner because it's now when I lift, all of those principles is what I try to practice in the weight room now.
What about other healthy habits, sleep and eating and maybe journaling, meditating, all those things, again, that people won't see on the court? Where are you at with those?
I think with eating, I really dialed it in the last couple of years. Um, I mean, with the national team, they talked a lot about getting your protein hits in. So that basically means that 5 times a day, you're eating about 30 grams of protein. And so I try to practice that. Maybe I'm eating 40 grams 4 times a day or something like that. It varies a little bit. And I'm not tracking my macros or anything, but on days where it's a really hard training day, I'll eat more carbs. And then on off days, I'll eat less carbs and more protein and fats. And I find that's like a pretty good balance for me. Yeah, because I want to leave some headspace for myself on the training, and when you have just so many things that you're trying to do and they're not habits yet, it can become a little bit overwhelming. I like to journal, like by I like to journal when I feel like I could use a journal, if that makes sense. I'm not a daily journal guy, but before the Olympics, I journaled. After the Olympics, I journaled. After each pro season, I've journaled. Even during this pro season, I started working with. Oh, this would be a good thing actually. I started working with a like a mindset coach this year. His name's Josh Breckheisen. For those who want to check it out, VB Mindsetter. He's awesome. He's a guy based out of where's BYU? Where's yeah, what state? Utah. Nice. So he's based in there, and he's got some pretty unique ideas. And I subscribed to his program this year, and we started working together. And so that was a big adjustment that I've made on that front.
Yeah, I like what you said about leaving yourself some headspace because that's so true. There's so many things you can do. Like if you were to be perfect, it would be crazy. If you're going to meditate every morning, journal, eat the right things, track it all, stretch, all that stuff. Um, but I think it's like where do you get the most bang for your buck? Like for you as the knees over toes guy, if you just did that and got your protein in, then you're like 90% of the way there. And you know you've got some capacity if you need to turn it on for like a month or something before an Olympic qualifier, you add those like the last 10%, but there's got to be a few things that can get you most of the way there, I would say. Um, what have you learned mental wise from the VB mindset, or what are some things that you come back to?
Um, his one of his, I would say, trademarks with his program is his game readies. So before every game, he's got a audio recorded message for me that's based on an animal. So he has, let's say, 20 animals. I don't know all of them, but the one animal that I started with this year is called Woto the gorilla. It, trust me, it's fun. It's called words and tone is what Woto stands for. And so I picked he's like pick an animal and your favorite place in the world. And so I was like, oh, I like gorillas, so I'll choose a gorilla, and it just happened to be words and tone, which are the main like the what I'm trying to emulate when I'm on the court is I want to be a leader on the court through my words and my tone, through my posture, um, through the words that I'm saying to my teammates, how intense I am. And so it'll be about a 10-minute meditation where I'll focus on my breath for a couple minutes. And then he's literally going to be like, Brody, you're turning into Woto the gorilla. Like you can feel the silverback hairs growing on your back. Your forearms are becoming these like massive gorilla arms. And it just, for one, it's like really fun. It's a playful thing that like we used to do as kids. And I think that's a cool thing to get back to is to like be playful. And then also it just, I mean, they say like you can convince yourself of almost anything just with your mind. And so I'm going out there and I think I'm a gorilla when I'm playing.
Dude, that's incredible. I love that. That's really cool.
That's cool. That's such a unique approach to like mental performance stuff because uh I think that's probably like the topic that I'm most fascinated in is how to get yourself in like a good mindset for performance. It took me a long time to get there, and I started to figure out just what works for me by the end of my career. But it's like so, I would say like unstable almost, and like you don't your skills don't change that much like game to game or week to week, but like your performance can be all over the place, which means that it's a mindset thing. So that's so cool. I love that he's trying a unique approach to getting you.
Have you heard the Mickey Mantle quote? Do you know the Mickey Mantle quote?
No.
Okay, Mickey Mantle, legend, New York Yankees. I think he was a first baseman. Baseball fans might be mad at me for that, but I'm pretty sure he was an excellent hitter. And what his quote is, sports is baseball is 50% physical and 100% mental. So it's a cool way to just think about sports that way is yeah, you need physical attributes, but you always need your mental to be dialed in. And so yeah, I like that quote.
One thing, Brody, when I think of playing with you and you as a player, is just how much of a winner you are, how much of a competitor you are. Like you went 4 for 5 in club nationals and 2 U Sports national championships. And like every time being on the floor with you, it's like you just refuse to lose. Like I think a lot of people, when things aren't going well for them, they can get down on themselves. And I was that way for a very, very long time. And I think playing with you, I learned how to fight through that. Where where does that come from? Where do you go when things aren't going well for you? How can people who struggle to stay present and maintain that competitiveness when they're struggling? What can they do?
Um, Thank you. I think I get it from my dad a little bit. My dad is uber competitive and never let us beat him in anything. Like you guys know the pepper game in volleyball where it's like yeah, you pepper and then you hit it at someone and if they screw up you get a point. Did you guys
Yeah,
play
yeah.
that? Yeah. I've never beaten my dad at it. And I'm an Olympic volleyball player and I still have never beaten him at it. And so I think I get it a little bit from him. I also have two younger brothers who are also very competitive. And so I that was just kind of the household dynamic in our house was just it was always a competition, no matter what it is. It's we're competing. And so that was just part of me at a young age. And then with winning, I don't know. I don't know if I give myself credit for a lot of those years of winning. I think I learned a lot from like a guy like Zach Johnson. He's not a well-known name in the volleyball world in Canada, but he is probably one of the best club volleyball players. He's in the top 5 for sure, one of the most winningest club players, and he was the leader of that force team that we won. I think lost in U14 and then 15, 16, 17, 18 we won. Um, and so a lot of it comes from that. But I, I feel like it's one of those things that I'm honestly trying to figure out a bit more where that comes from because I've had 2 years that has a lot of losing, and so I think, and I don't have a very good answer for you, man. But yeah.
Well, I have a question because I've always admired your ability to leave the competitiveness on the court. And one of the stories that sticks out to me is we were in the national team gym and you and Jackson were just going at it for some reason. Like he was really frustrated with you and started to raise his voice a little bit. You started to raise your voice a little bit. He walked away and you're like, what are we doing? We're friends. and
Yeah.
and then but I remember you telling me stories the year that I was injured. You guys would bicker and bicker, and then you lived together and you'd have a great time that night. And I did, was that always part of your competitive mindset? Like even with your brothers, was it like, hey, when we're done playing basketball outside, we're brothers inside, or did you have to kind of learn that evolution?
Um, I think that was uh, it's a bit of both, maybe. I learned how to do it better with my brothers at a younger age. And then with university, this might sound kind of like maybe voodoo-y, but I don't really feel like the Brodie that plays on the court is necessarily who I actually am, like as a person with my friends. And yeah, maybe you guys can speak to that better, but when I'm on the court, I almost feel like there's like a different aggressive part of me that like comes out and is the competitor part. But when I'm just with my friends, like, yeah, I don't know. I think I see like almost two different selves come out in sport. And so it's really easy for me to detach a fight with one of my closest friends, Jackson, in the national team. And we had many, like in university, we would fight, literally cursing at each other. And then we'd go home and we would have a great time together. So for me, it was just always really easy to detach those two because it never felt personal from my end. There's definitely times where it was personal for other people and I had to reconcile that. But yeah, that's my answer.
It's interesting. It is funny how sports is kind of like different and sheltered from the rest of society almost. Like imagine if you were like an accountant and you had hecklers or something. There was like 20 people there just chirping you as you're trying to like fill out Excel formulas. Like that just doesn't happen. So I think that's maybe why sports are 50% skill and 100% mental. It's because it's just like it's not real. And maybe some of the best players in the world do have this like alter ego that has to show up in game to be able to deal with all those pressures and that mental side and stuff. Um, Speaking of like teammates and friends and team dynamics and stuff, how we talked to more about this, and I think it's useful, especially for the younger generations, how to have difficult conversations with your teammates or with your friends or even with people in regular life. I think you've always been pretty good at that, coming forward in honest and unemotional tone. What do you think?
Um, I think I've had my moments where I definitely overstepped and we weren't ready to have a conversation about it. I would say like if you got into it with a friend or a teammate during practice or a game, don't speak about it that night or that day necessarily, or unless you're in like a club volleyball tournament like we do here in Canada. If you have 2 hours or an hour a game break between your game and you're storming with your teammate, then you guys need to go aside and just try to understand where each other are coming from and don't take it personally because unless the guy that you're fighting with is a real jerk, then you just kind of brush it off your shoulder. You need to let it go. But to have those conversations, it's best to do it when emotions are not hot and then to, yeah, try to understand each other, put yourselves in your shoes. I think the one of the best life skills I learned was from my girlfriend Bryn, and it's just how to be more empathetic. And it's helped me avoid issues and it's helped me understand people better. Just put yourself in their shoes a little bit and try to view yourself through their eyes and see how you came across to them. Because I think a lot of people, young guys, don't really think about, they aren't self-aware enough to really think about how they come across to people. You just think about what you're doing and you might not think it's a big deal, but other people are like, you're acting like an idiot.
Well, that's a really good point, and I think sometimes you might not realize it at the time, or you do realize at the time, and you're in a really rough space. And I got an example about this with me and you. It was like years later that I apologized to you for being like a shitty roommate in your first year. I don't know if you remember that, but I felt a tremendous amount of guilt for the way I acted. And it had nothing to do with you, but I was injured. I was bedridden with my back, and I was just so jealous that you got to go to practice. You got to see all our friends. You got to go to those trips, and it had nothing to do with you, but I was just so bitter,
Yeah.
and I didn't treat you the way that I wanted to treat you. And I remember a couple of years later, I was like, Brodie, I got to apologize for the roommate and the friend and the teammate that I was. And I think if you do have those feelings, whether it's the next day or the next year, I think it's important to go to that person and say, hey, that was really crappy of me. Like, I want to learn from this. I want to tell you that I'm sorry. I want to tell you that I love you and move on from it.
Yeah.
And I think that's super, especially with young boys, like you're saying, that's something that's really missed. It's a really a big missed opportunity.
Yeah, I remember we were at Lyndon's house at a campfire when that happened because I also felt the same way about not being a very good roommate because I knew that you were struggling and I was just really selfish that year. Yeah, I was going through some stuff that year being a rookie and I just was acting selfishly but from that moment, like that brought us way closer together as friends and allowed us to compete against each other hard and it never mean anything more. Yeah. Something that you were talking about is clearing the air with your teammates. And a big theme of me, or a big theme of me, a big theme for me this off season after this pro year is to create headspace for myself. And we kind of talked about that a few minutes ago. And if you feel like you have need to squash some beef with your friend, then go and do it because that's occupying headspace in your mind. And if let's say the stress and the thoughts that we have has like a is a cup and you only have a certain amount of space in that cup. You can, as you get older and experience more, you can grow that cup and handle more. But if you start to have too much, then it's going to start to overflow in different areas of your life. Like for me, when my headspace is getting over, I am a horrible person to myself on the court. And so, big theme for me getting ready for this pretty tough summer we have coming up together is just clearing up headspace to handle difficulties and things like that.
I love that. And I think those conversations that need to be had or those things you need to address, they grow over time. And the more time you give it to grow, the bigger it feels it's becoming. And usually, if you just squash it right away, it's not going to have that effect. Um, I want to talk just quickly here about injuries because you've gone through quite a few, and it seems like at most of the time it's bad timing as well. Um, from dude, I never got injured my whole career. I remember one practice in my whole career that I missed until essentially I couldn't play anymore. But I think the reason that that happened to me is because I got my first concussion in my last year at university, and that was my essentially my first injury ever, and I didn't know how to deal with it. The thought of taking like 3 weeks off from training was like it broke my heart. I was like, I can't stop training because I love training for one, but I was like, also I'm gonna fall behind all that stuff. So had I been better prepared to deal with injury, I think things could have gone differently for me. And as someone who's gone through quite a few injuries, what where do you go in those places, and what can help people going through those?
Um, yeah, I have had a lot of injuries. Fortunately, I haven't had any massive ones in my last couple pro seasons. Nothing that's taken me out of the game for too long. But it's a difficult balance. Like when I was in university, I could say to my coach or Benjo or Adam and be like, hey, like, or I could go and get diagnosed by someone. Let's say like Brodie has a broken finger. That happened in my 5th year. Then I was like, okay, I need to, I talked with Adam, like, yeah, it's broken. Like, let's come up with a plan, Okay, for these 4 weeks that you're going to be out, like, you're not going to be able to play with our team. It's going to be a struggle for our team to get wins, and we have some big matches coming up too. Like, both of us were injured for Alberta weekend at home, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we were both injured for Alberta. Tias was injured for Mount Royal and UBC, and then I was injured for something too. Sask, I played libero at Sask.
Yeah, I was injured at Sask, and that was hard to be there because we lost two 5-setters on the road after we did it to Mount Royal on the road. But I think it's not easy. I'll just say that. Like it sucks, but if you can find the silver lining in it, it's it's the best thing that you can do. Like my silver lining that year was to squat every day and lift. Basically, I think 4 days a week I was coming in and squatting because I had a broken finger, but my legs were good. So I just did as much squatting as I could, variations of it, because I basically couldn't make a fist with my hand. So anything where I didn't need to make a fist, I was good to go. And so if you can find the silver lining in it, it'll help your mental a little bit. At least it'll distract you. It's honestly, yeah, it is taxing on your mind. And I remember I told Adam once that that season when I was injured, I was like, Adam, I can't come to practice today. Like I'll be a dickhead if I'm at practice today. I'm like not in a good spot. And he's like, all right, take the day. Next day, I knew I could come in and be a better teammate then.
I think too, it's just really cool, just your story for those out there. Like I think Jesus is right. I don't know if I know someone who's been injured more than you, but you're an Olympian, right? Like
Yeah.
you're an Olympian, and had Tias taken the time off, there's a good chance that he would also be an Olympian. So there's season-ending injuries, but that does not mean they're career-ending injuries if you take care of yourself, if you do the right things. But it's going to be hard, and it's going to be painful, both emotionally and mentally and physically, is what I meant to say. Um, but you can still reach your goals.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, and then it's there's also a balance too. Like you do need to play through injuries sometimes. The one that I think about is we were doing cleans in the Philippines. We're in a random fitness center in some mall in the Philippines, not good conditions. We're tired, whatever. And I just, with my strength coach, we were like, all right, let's see what our my max 2 reps are today. And we're doing cleans, and I get the first one barely. Second one, I catch it too low, and I drop the bar on my hand, and my elbow hits my knee, and I basically like it hyperextends my wrist, and I tore 3 ligaments in my hand. And I knew I screwed it up bad. I finished working out. I sat on the ground and I just was like, "Holy crap, is my summer over?" And I was walking back, and Steve Marr was my guy that summer. Like all my years with the national team so far, I've been going to Steve, and I was like, "Steve, I screwed up my hand badly." And he's like, "Okay, can you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, you can spike. Like you have to play. Like if you really want to go to the Olympics, like this is what it's going to take." And I'm so grateful he said that to me. And I think most teammates that I've had in like Canada and stuff, they'll say, "Oh man, just take it easy, be careful." And it's coming from a good place. But Steve was really honest with me there, and he's like, "Brodie, you got to play if you want to go." And so I played through in Poland. Sorry, with Sam was the outside there, and you were also there. But we played in that Polish game, and it was the best reception game of my life. And I was playing through an injury where I couldn't hyperextend my wrist like 2 centimeters back. Yeah.
Another great story.
Yeah, I have something I want to ask you guys about. This is a question I've been thinking about. I've found that when I am injured and playing, it gives me this level of focus that I haven't been able to capture very consistently when I'm on the court. Like an example would be that game against Poland when I screwed up my wrist. I knew like, hey, physically I'm not in the best condition. Like I cannot set a high ball right now, so I have to bump set. And blocking, if they hit it off my right hand, it's going to be enormous pain. But it was the best reception I've ever had. And I just remember finishing that game and being like, I teleported from the beginning of the match to the end. I was so focused, and I've been trying to chase that level of focus in other times when I've been injured too. And I've been like, wow, like I'm locked in mentally. What do you guys think about that? Want to make a comment?
Yeah, well, I'm curious if you think it is the injury that caused you to be more focused.
I think it's having the injury. I get to a place where I'm like physically, I can't rely on my physical attributes today, so mentally I just need to be super locked in. And I almost need to like forget about my injury, so I'm hyper focused on the game.
But I wonder if it's almost like an external cue where you're actually hyper focused on the injury and you just let your body take over because it knows how to play volleyball. Instead of thinking about passing, instead of thinking about serving, you're trying to protect your wrist and you're going to do it in the most efficient way possible to get the ball from A to B. So maybe it's the opposite actually.
Yeah.
For me, I play terribly if I'm playing through injuries. Usually it's my back
Yeah.
and every movement hurts and I'm just like I can't do it. I can't rotate. I can't reach. I can't do nothing. But I wonder if it's the opposite
Right.
because your body's like, well, I don't want to get hurt. I'm going to do this as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it probably depends what injury you're dealing with. Yeah, for sure. But I maybe a bit of a darker side of it is like now you have an excuse almost where it's like I in France last year, Jackson and I got food poisoning from I think it was pasta that I made actually, and 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 we were up the whole night, like barely slept an hour, missed serving pass in the morning. The doctor sent us to get pills. We got like a, a whole array of pills that we were just popping all day to try to get ready to play this game. And I didn't eat anything for I think like 24 hours, except for like I had like 2 cookies before the game. That was my pregame meal, and best game of the year got MVP. And I think and I think it was just like almost like a freedom. Like I'm not in the best shape. I'm not necessarily ready to play right now. Screw it, let's go see what happens. And I think that's like a good that's like when people black out, they're not thinking much, right? You're just playing, you're in the moment, you're focused, but it's not like a conscious focus. You're just like in flow. And I think when there's that like it's maybe not the best um space to be in, but when there's that like excuse there, then maybe like you're not thinking so much about like, oh, I should play well right now. It's like I probably shouldn't play well, so therefore I have the freedom to go and just do it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's that's kind of like an underdog mentality. Like I remember when we were playing Brandon in Can West semifinals in our my fourth year, your third year, fourth year. They on paper were not a team that should beat us, but we went to five with them in game three. I think after losing the first two sets. And we managed to pull that game out. But that team, and I'll give credit to Brandon through my years, they always show up focused. And it maybe is kind of like an underdog mentality of like, we aren't supposed to win, so therefore it gives me the freedom to win or to go for it.
Yeah, maybe it's the same thing on like a personal level. If you are playing through an injury, you feel like you're at
Yeah.
slight disadvantage, so you can have that underdog mentality. Another thing I was thinking about, like completely different, but when I was going through like concussion stuff and I was playing through those, like that sucked. But sometimes what would go through my mind is like, if I get hit in the head again, my career is over. So I need to enjoy this game, which is like rough. You don't want to be there, but it did like give me a sense of freedom. It's like this could be my last game ever, and I knew that. And I don't know why I was still playing, but but um yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Um but but that's just another interesting like mental tweak that happens when you're not at your best.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring this thing into land. Okay, we've got a question that we ask a lot of our guests to finish off here, and it comes from the place that I believe that every person is an expert in something, whether that be an actual skill or a certain mindset or a certain attitude or yeah, just a tiny piece of their life that they are one of the best, if not the best in the world at. It's a really tough question. What do you think that would be for you?
Is this on a personal level or is this in like sports or all inclusive?
I would say all inclusive. What was yours, Jess?
Thanks. Mine was something about emotional understanding of other people or something.
Yeah, I think I said like a detachment from emotion.
Yeah, I think mine would be the example we talked about when I'm fighting with a teammate on the court. I think I'm a master of letting go of those things like very quickly. And whatever happens, it's this is very niche. But whatever happens on the court, I can leave there and be done with it and go and have a great day afterwards. Even not all the time, but if I have a horrible training, after I go home, shower, eat some food, I'm over it. And that would be like in the mo worst case scenario. That would be the longest I would say it takes me to get over something like that. So I think that would be my ability to get over fights, struggles, whatever, injuries. I've had a lot of practice at it.
Well, and I think that's super evident in all the stories you told us today with the Olympic journey, with all the injuries. Like that's super evident, and it's obviously paid off. So that's super cool. Super cool. You want to wrap us up?
Alrighty, I think we'll end it there. Thanks for coming on, bro. That was awesome. Love hearing hearing some of the stories from behind the scenes and getting to know you a little bit better than we already do. It's pretty awesome. Alrighty. I think that wraps up episode number 35 of the Pit to Pro podcast. Thank you everyone for listening and signing off.
Thanks, boys. You guys are such good interviewers, man.